Welcome back to my enduro bike maintenance series. In this video I'm gonna show you how to remove the old bearings and how to install the new ones. So let's put the gloves on and let the game begin. Hey guys, welcome back to my enduro bike maintenance series. So I noticed that the front wheel bearings are not rolling smoothly, so I decided to replace them, and I'm gonna show you how to do it without any special tools. So enjoy and let's get started. So firstly, what we need to do is to remove front wheel, of course. So we need to unscrew this bolt and those two, and later those two bolts, and take out the axle and the wheel itself. Using the axle nut. Now we can take out the axle. Front wheel is free. Make sure that you have the correct bearings for this particular bike, of course, and the dust seals. Now what we want to do is to take out the spacers. Those out. Take out another one. Those out. Now take the screwdriver and take out the dust seal with the screwdriver. It might be a bit tight, just don't destroy the hub itself. It's off. You want to clean the old grease because some hubs has the lock washer. So before pulling the old bearings out, you need to make sure that the lock washer is not in the way. Now the other side. Put the screwdriver like this and tap it a little bit, and the dust seal should come off. That's it. So as you can see, the side has the lock washer. Let's see, it's a ring which you need to take out before pulling the bearings out. So for that you need to have this kind of tool. Let's squeeze it and take the ring out. The ring is out. And how to check if the bearings are bad. Just try to roll it, and if it's not rolling smoothly, then you need to replace them. Those are not terrible. I mean, it rolls, doesn't wobble, but yeah, when you roll it, you can feel that there are some kind of a resistance. What about this one? Definitely the grease is all washed out from the bearings, so not perfect. So how to remove the old bearing? As you can see, there is a inner spacer over there. So you need to push down the spacer a bit, just that much that the lip on the bearing are exposed, and then you can knock it out from the other side. Just be careful not scratch it, but there is some kind of the hole. It helps to knock it with the hammer a bit. What I like to do is put the wheel on some kind of two surfaces, just to make sure that the wheel is above the ground, and make sure that those pieces of woods are not on the disc itself, because you're gonna bend it. Make sure that it's touching the bolts like this, and then you can tap the old bearing safely. Now you can see that when we move the spacer, there is a lip on the bearing, and we have to take some round tool or something and punch it a bit. When you punch one side, you'll need to move the spacer to the other side and punch the other side, and just go around like this, and this way you'll know that the bearing is moving equally. Now let's put the spacer to the other side. Don't use any metal things to do this job, because you're gonna scratch the surface of the spacer. Use something plastic so you can knock a bit. When you punch the bearing, knock it equally on each side in every punch, because otherwise you're gonna make the bearing on the angle, and you might damage the hub itself. Okay, now when the spacer is moving freely, you can easier move the spacer and knock every side of the bearing. One knock at one side, and the bearing should be moving. The spacer is wobbling, then means that the bearings are moving. And knock at the old bearing until it drops off. That's why you need to lift the wheel from the ground, because otherwise you're gonna be knocking bearing to the ground. It has to drop out. Yeah, as you can see, the oil bearing and the spacer are on the ground. Now take it to the side and do the same for the another bearing. The oil bearing is exposed and it's gonna be easier to knock it out. Yeah. Don't punch the one side only, just change the sides. The bearing is up. Both of the bearings are out. They look awful. They're still moving. I mean, they're not terrible, but in my opinion, they had to be replaced. You're gonna need at least one bearing later. I'm using the old bearing to insert the new one in. What you want to do now is to clean the surface before inserting the new bearing in. If you feel any scratches or rusty surface on the hub, this one is quite new one, so it's smooth as butter. But if you feel anything, you can take sandpaper, about 2000 the grade, smooth the surface a bit if it's rusty or scratched. If it looks like new, you don't need to do anything. Just clean it as much as you can. Okay, now when the surface is perfectly clean, you can insert the new bearings. So which side bearing should come in first? Usually it's the brake disc side, because it has the lock ring cut out. Because this way, when you put the bearing in and then you will lock it, then you will be safe to knock another bearing in, because the bearing won't move out on the side. So why do you need the old bearing? As I said before, it has a good usage to knock in the new bearing in, because it's the same diameter. So before putting in the new bearing, what I like to do is to use a torch to heat the hub a bit. This way the aluminum part will expand a bit and the new bearing gonna go easier. Heat it up a bit, I don't know, for about 1 minute, something like that. Heat it around just to make sure that it's expanding equally. A little bit of grease, just a little bit, to help the bearing go in. Be careful because the surface might be hot. You can compare the old bearing and the new bearing, you're gonna see the difference. Make sure that the bearing is put equally on each side. And this is the part where the old bearing comes useful. Put it on the old bearing and start knocking in all directions. Go around and don't hammer it very hard. It might put the one side a bit further. Just make sure that it goes equally on each side. Try to knock the outer side of the bearing. The old bearing is in enough. You might get stuck. Put the screwdriver and carefully knock it out. And now you don't want to use it anymore, because otherwise it might stuck. So what you need to do is take the biggest head you have and knock the outer side of the bearing equally. Move it and knock it. You will hear that the sound has changed, so it means that the bearing is sitting where it needs to sit. Do you hear that the sound changed? It means that the bearing is where it needs to be. And you can see that the lock washer groove is exposed. Also, you can check the bearing if you didn't break it, if you didn't damage it. Going smoothly. So, okay, now we can squeeze the lock washer and put it in. Make sure that it's in equally from each side, and you can take the hole and try to spin it. If it spins, that means that it's sitting correctly. Okay, now it's time to put the other bearing. Make sure that the surface is touching the brake disc nuts. Put the spacer in. Make sure that it's in the center of the bearing. And when it's in the center, take another bearing and let's put some grease and then heat the surface again. If you're wondering, yeah, I do have the bearing puller, but I wanted to show you how to do this procedure with the basic tools. So take the new bearing,
put it equally on each side. Let's take the old bearing again, punch equally on each side. If there is one side a bit upper, punch it a bit harder. Don't go crazy. Use the old bearing until you're a bit lower than the surface of the hub, because otherwise the old bearing might stuck. That's enough. And now put the spacer in the middle again. And now use the head. And just punch the outer side of the bearing. Move it to the side and another side and the side. From time to time try to put the spacer in the center. It's not critical, as I said, because you can always correct it when the bearings are in, but it's going to be easier this way. Do you hear the sound change? It means that the bearing is sitting exactly where it needs to sit. Check if the spacer is in place. If not, take some kind of a plastic tool or something and correct the position. It must be right in the center. You cannot feel some kind of lip or something. Bearings are in. Just check if the bearing is still rolling. Okay, now it's time for the dust seal. You can take some grease. Don't go crazy, just a little bit to help it go in smoother. Put it in. Dust seal shouldn't go very deep. You want to have it the same as a hub surface. It went a bit too deep. Always can take the screwdriver and push it out. It should be okay. Okay, this side is done. And now the other side should be shut with the surface. Now, what I like to do, put some waterproof grease in the gap between the bearing and the dust seal. Will help to water stay out of the critical area. Put it in. So yeah. Now the other side. And put it in. And yeah. The wheel is ready to be inserted. Axle is in. To put the bolt in. Snug those two bolts. And torque this one. This one is 15 Newton meters. Now you can make sure that those are loose. Unscrew those. Now what I want to do is take the ratchet again and turn the axle clockwise from the other side. This way the front fork will align itself. Snug all 4 bolts and torque it with a torque wrench. Those are 10 Newton meters. Repeat the action on the both bolts. When you tighten one, another one can get loose again. Also, what is critical after putting the wheel in, make sure that the front brakes are working, because for example, if you expand the brake pads, then the first try will be a failure. Good as new. So yeah, this is it, guys. It was very easy and quick procedure. You don't need any fancy tools, just regular tools that you can find in the store next to your home or something. First time when I did this procedure also looked quite easy, so I hope it's gonna be easy for you. And if you find this video useful and you liked it, press the thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe my channel, if you want to see more. Thanks for watching, have a nice day and see you soon.